With writing more self-indulgent than Tarantino's dialogue, I'm Matt Straq. This is That Sports Show. Today on That Sports Show, B. Arthur and steroids and everyone's love of enhanced performance. But first, alright, so the TSS bosses splurged last holiday season. Sure, they didn't go for the delousing of the studio foam that we asked for, but they did pony up for a subscription to the New York Times. Though we're not quite sure why it shows up addressed to the IHOP down the street each week. Thumbing through the paper the other day, we noticed this, though, staring up at us from the sports section. As you can see, the Times recently reported that suspicion of doping at track and field competitions for the elderly is growing. It seems that some geriatric competitors have been prescribed drugs with the unintentional side effect of allowing them to perform at higher levels than their peers. The article painstakingly lays out the question of whether elderly athletes who are prescribed steroids and other PEDs for legitimate medical reasons should still be allowed to compete. And that's just the kind of question that the Times should concern itself with. But for us, producers of an internet sports show who are paid in vending machine food, we believe we're better suited to go after the bigger questions. Like just where do we draw the line at calling something a performance enhancer anyway? In the case of those athletic octogenarians, can you really accuse them of performance enhancing when they were taking prescribed drugs to prevent things like, well, dying? And to start off discussion of an important topic, let's take a look at this clip from Deep Blue Sea.
I ain't the expert, but I'd say given Gen 2's size and some room to move, she could put a couple tons, maybe more, into a hit. So yeah, in my opinion, she wants through. She's coming.
And these sharks, they aren't just breaking down doors for the sheer joy of it, are they? They're after us.
Now, that scene was clearly enhanced by the part played by Samuel L. Jackson. He was the only interesting thing in an otherwise terrible movie. In fact, it's safe to say that you can put Sam Jackson in any flick, in any role, big or small, and that movie instantly becomes at least 15% more watchable. But are movie producers ever called out for easily improving films with a quick injection of Samuel L.? And is it fair to the box office competition that one flick was able to land Sam but the others weren't? Huh. Now let's watch a clip from Baywatch.
Oh.
Have I met you somewhere before?
Yeah, yesterday. Remember you picked up my trash.
Okay, that's why you look familiar.
Dennis Kozowski.
CJ Parker.
How you doing?
Good, thanks.
You sure are.
Alright, be honest. Where were your eyes during that clip? Were you tracking Dennis Kowalski, the unknown actor's understated performance? Or were you noting the interesting choices made by the costume director? Or were you checking out Pam's cleavage? Be honest. The fact is, you and I probably never would have heard of Pam Anderson were it not for the invention of implants. Not to say that Anderson isn't talented, but we can pronounce with some certainty that were it not for the enhancements offered by surgeons in Beverly Hills and Miami, Baywatch would have never become the most watched TV show ever. And what about all those wannabe starlets who Pam Anderson competes with for roles? Do any of them complain that she's unfairly advantaged herself by bolstering her assets? So back to sports then. With the advances in professional sports, the line between banned performance enhancer and accepted training practice has become so blurry that it almost doesn't exist anymore. For instance, in '74, Dodgers pitcher Tommy John was the first pro athlete to successfully undergo the surgery that would forever thereafter bear his name. Before that, athletes who blew out elbow tendons were just done. If they were lucky, they could find a career in broadcasting. If they were unlucky, they would wind up greeting Midwestern tourists just past the valet stand at a Vegas casino. But today, athletes can pop in for a quick procedure with a near total recovery rate, and a year later they're back on the field, sometimes throwing for more gas than before. Other advances in sport like dietitians, conditioning coaches, and even genetic testing are all allowed or encouraged. Then there are those advances whose results are just as certain, but they're considered taboo. Things like supplements, HGH, and even steroids all work the same effect as the accepted practices. They all allow athletes to perform at higher levels. If we really wanted to ban all performance enhancers, wouldn't we go back to the days when baseball players would have scotch for dinner and NBA players would chain smoke during timeouts? That's it for another episode of That Sports Show. As usual, be sure to visit us at thatsportshow.com to let us know what you think. Until then, I'm Matt Straq. We'll see you next time.
Come on, CJ. Orientation will be my first day at Malibu Beach High. First impressions are everything. Don't most of the kids already know you from the beach? Yeah, in my lifeguard uniform. Come on, this is different. It's school.